And hello everyone, and welcome back to the Pumpkin Copter Cast, the only video game show. So yes, today I'm joined by Lisa, and we're going to be talking about the latest game she's working on, Wick&Flare. Hello, Lisa. Uh, Hello.
Did you hear me?
Yes, the audio's always being funny. Um. So yeah. So to start things off, how about you tell the listeners at home a little bit about yourself, Lisa?
Sure. So I'm 27 soon actually. I've been making games I was gonna say my whole life, but that's actually a lie, right? But it's been a while. And it's both my work and a hobby. So I s- I'm actually spending all my time working on video games, which is yeah, it's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big nerd.
All right. And when did you first discover video games? Would you say?
Oh, you mean as a player,
Yeah.
right? Uh, Pretty early, I think. So I have a sister. She's like 5 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
And she had like a Game Boy Pocket, I think. So the one right after the Game Boy,
Mm-hmm.
um, right between that and the Game Boy Color. And basically, she was playing Pokemon, I think, on it for a while. And my family wasn't really against video games, but we didn't also have like a lot of those. So for a while, we didn't have anything else. We just had like some portable consoles like Game Boy, Game Boy Color. And at some point, my sister, she stopped playing those, right?
Mm-hmm.
She just did something else with her time. And I sticked with it. So then I got like a Game Boy Advance and stuff, and I got into games more and more.
Okay. And what would you say was your favorite game and or games growing up?
Growing up, okay, that's a good question. I would say, I mean, one of those has to be Pokemon Ruby because I spent at the time like more than 300 hours
Oh.
on the game. And I think that's a lot for like a Pokemon game.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like 10 or something, so it's probably pretty big. Um, yeah, so it was one of those big games I played like really like a lot. Then I think I really played a lot of Bangai-O Spirit on DS, which was kind of like a weird Bangai-O not spin-off, but like a small entry in the series. And it was like very frantic because you have all these missiles around and projectiles, and it's super funny to play on the DS because the DS was constantly freeze because there are too many projectiles
Mm-hmm.
and the frame rate will completely drop, which I find hilarious now.
Okay, and what would you say is your favorite game and or games now?
Now, okay, that's super hard. Also, I'm not really a kind of like a favorite kind of person. It's very hard for me to pick things. I guess it also ties up to the fact that I'm not very good at making decisions. So it's very hard for me to just single like a few. But I still can say that Undertale
Mm-hmm.
is one of my favorite games of the past few years. Um, probably have some versus fighting games in there as well. Uh, uh, like I could say maybe Samurai Gun. Actually, the first one is probably one of my favorite games of all time as well.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't played the second one yet, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna be one of my favorite games as well because I really dig the first one. I think it was fucking brilliant. So yeah,
Okay.
mostly indie games actually. I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking.
Okay then. And so let's pretend for one brief, wonderful moment that a literal apocalypse wasn't actually happening right now for reals, and we were at a convention with booths and things and people and words being said about games, and people were like walking by the like theoretical Wick and Flare booth. What would be the elevator pitch you'd give them to get any sort of people interested in buying and playing it?
Question. I wish I had that written down. Well, I mean, usually the elevator pitch I give to people when I want to get them interested in this game, Wick&Flare. I guess it's also like kind of bad because I think in elevator pitch sometimes it's better to have your own identity and not like use like Mario or like this kind of game. I think it's better to have your own style.
Mm-hmm.
But I always kind of say that it's like a Sonic game, but good. And I think it works in a way because people get hooked instantly, like, oh, okay, okay, I see what you're doing. And it kind of break my heart because at the same time, I'm a big Sonic fan also. I do like Sonic games to some extent. Even the 3D ones, I think they can be cool. But I know they have issues. And yeah, saying that, I think it kind of get people intrigued a little bit. They're like, oh yeah, what's up with that? Does sound interesting. And of course, it's just to get people hooked because the game is not really like that. It's like open world kind of 3D platform, a la My Odyssey, but not really because I know that if I get too close to My Odyssey, I will suffer from the comparison, of course. So yeah, it's more about like Sonic as the open world if it was good.
Okay, all right then.
Yeah.
And like, where did the idea for Wick and Flare come from?
Actually, so it's kind of weird because usually I don't know if you're um like familiar with I mean, with the whole concept of game dev if you already made games or stuff, character design, but usually you come up like gameplay ideas or like
Mm-hmm.
situation. At least that's what I do, and then I create something around that. Like I found myself thinking about a cool situation in a video game, and then I will make stuff around that idea, and like the character design will reflect that. And in Wick&Flare was the opposite actually. I just had the idea of having a candle
Mm-hmm.
with a demonic flame on its head, and that was the starting point of everything, which is completely weird and very wrong. No one should do that because then I actually had to design the mechanics and everything else from that design, which is terrible, of course, because then you have to twist and bend game design and game mechanics to make them fit the character design, which is again terrible. No one should do that, but I did it, and it kind of worked because then suddenly I found out that that would be funny if the flame on the top of its head could literally eat the candle and just roll around, and suddenly it was actually fun and pretty appealing visually.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how all everything started.
Okay. And yeah, just just to expand on it more. Just why is the main character a small candle thing?
Why, right? I didn't know at first. I started building this whole lore around it.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's some candle people in the future, very post-apocalyptic vibe. Or like there is no human anymore, just like ruins and stuff. And because of this, there is some kind of magic and shit. Because why not? Humans are not there anymore, so we can do that, right? Adventure Time did it. So I thought it would be kind of funny to have those kind of candle creatures, and they just move around and do the lives as long as they have like a life flame on their head. So basically, just giving them kind of like agency and literally it's their life, kind of like yeah, literally just kind of a way to move around and be alive. And as soon as the flame goes off, then if the flame is gone, then they will kind of into that slumber
Mm-hmm.
that can last forever. So candle people basically. And then I thought it would be kind of cool to have like this whole plot of those candle people suddenly all dying, quote unquote. And this one, and I thought it would be kind of interesting to expand on that, like where the flame came from, because the flame can talk.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually kind of like a symbiotic relationship between those two, because the
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a combustible. So in a way, like the wick on the candle helps the flame to stay alive. So flare stays alive because of the wick. because
Mm-hmm.
Wick is basically there to kind of carry it,
Oh.
and Wick can only live with because of the flame. So it's kind of like a funny relationship because they have very different characters, character designs, ambitions, way of expressing uh, who they are. Because the candle cannot talk, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all kind of like, yeah, this kind of double character that we can see in other platformers actually, like Ratchet and Clank, for example. So yeah, I thought it would be funny to have this kind of relationship and plot around that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's like I know, just looking at one of the screenshots right now, and it says 3D platformer like Sonic but good. So, just would you say that the gameplay, once it's like finished and ready and out in the world, would it be like comparable to like a 3D Sonic game?
So I would say actually not really. That's I think you still get some flavor of Sonic up here and there because you have like bumpers, boosters, sequences where you just kind of see the character move around very fast and you don't really necessarily have agency
Mm-hmm.
on those phases. But overall, the overall flow of the game, the style of the game, the way it will actually play will be more chill in a way probably and a bit more I mean, definitely open world. And I think the way of actually moving around in those big areas would mostly be in a ball form, so rolling around. And then when you find a place where you can actually do platforming stuff, then you can kind of do more precise movements and actually get to places with skills and chain jumps, for example. That's something that's always get me interested. It's like when you have like a lot of different movement options, and depending on the situation, you can only use a certain one of them and not all of them. Like I don't know if you played. It's completely not the same type of game, but like in Tribes or Tribes Ascent, for example, the free-to-play version,
Mm-hmm.
you have a jetpack, right? You can actually fly around and you ski all around those hills and you have a lot of mobility, but as soon as you're like in underground places or like inside buildings, suddenly the way to move is super different because you have to be careful with like your surroundings and the walls and the ceiling, and suddenly you use those movements that you always had but never really use outside because it's just not efficient, right? And technically in this game, it's kind of the same. Like being in a ball form is super efficient. You go way faster and you can destroy things and kill monsters. But at the same time, it's not precise enough to be actually usable in the whole game. And sometimes you have to stop and think and jump around and be precise.
Okay.
So yeah,
So, just as someone who's like directly like working on this 3D platformer, what would you say? Like, cause we know there's like quite a few differences because you in most 2D platformers you're just usually going in one direction, whereas 3D platformers you can pretty much go like anywhere in the space. But
yeah.
you know, yeah, what like how Wick&Flare, if like theoretically Wick&Flare was like a 2D platformer, like what are like the key differences between like this game that you're making and like this game if it were 2D?
Question. That's pretty big actually. I think technically, if it was a 2D game, it couldn't exist.
Ah.
Actually, yeah, because a lot of what make it appealing and interesting, and that make me want to work on it, is mostly tied up to the fact that it's 3D. If you remove that, then you remove a lot of the originality, a lot of like the camera angles and stuff that I'm making, and suddenly it becomes way less interesting to make, at least to me, because it would just be very, very plain in a way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We've seen many 2D games that already are doing what I would potentially be doing in 2D. I've seen many Sony clones who do. Well, they also do it very well. I've seen many games who kind of do very interesting stuff with the camera, with exploration. I've seen some studio Vania kind of style. So I would say it couldn't really exist if it was not 3D, definitely.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense in the context of your question, but
Yeah. And like, just like from like the initial conception of the idea to like when it eventually is a finished game and released and bought and played by the intended audience, how long would you say like the entire like development time will have taken?
so it's very long actually. It's hard to tell as well because I've been working on that game for a while now, more than 2 years, I think. If I get like the first commit I did on the repository, it's probably
Mm-hmm.
end of 2019. The reason for that is my motivation is very wavering, and I also have work,
Yeah.
full-time work. So since I'm a solo dev, basically every time I'm not working on the game, it's just no one's working on the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it takes a long time. I remember spending actually weeks on something like I really wanted the character to go on the slope and go down like in a Mario game. And I just removed literally that after trying to make it work for weeks. So it does take ages. If I'm optimistic, I would say the game will be available in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe beginning of 2022 if I'm crazy. Maybe not, but it will definitely take a while. And then even if I'm not working full time on it, it does still take a very, very long time to make because it's like I think 3D platformers, as a whole, as the genre, they really are the one of the worst things to ever make in terms of complexity. To be honest, don't really know why I'm doing that because it's literally torture sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
There are too much things to think about, to fix, to make, to tweak. Uh, it's crazy. But yeah, I would say at least if I was to kind of give an actual uh, development duration, I would say it's at least 2.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when it is fully released, like what platforms do you intend to put it on? Are there any you like wanna like aim for like right out of the gate?
Um, so to be honest, I'm not really sure about consoles. I'm pretty sure I'm going to put it on PC right off the bat,
Mm-hmm.
and itch.io, maybe Steam if I'm lucky. Um, I kind of want to put it on Switch because I think it's a very good fit, and maybe some PS4, PS5. That would be great. The thing is, I just don't have any experience regarding those platforms, like at all.
Mm-hmm.
So on a computer, it's fine because I already shipped one game by myself on Windows, so I know how it works. I mostly know how to make it kind of working, all right. There are so many things that you need to look at um, for on a release on multiple platforms. I think if I do that, I will probably need help.
Okay. And yeah, with that, we have come to the conclusion of this particular episode of the Pumpkin Copter Cast. I'd like to thank Lisa, Chief Everything Doer of Wick&Flare, for joining me and talking about this game. And yeah, so Lisa, before we sign off, is there anything else you want to shamelessly plug?
I have so many people to play on Twitter and stuff because I follow so many people that are interesting and deserve more recognition and work. So I can't really shamelessly plug anyone, but just if you know me, if you follow me on Twitter, just I retweet them, just give them a follow and boost them because I think it's important.
Okay. And yeah, if you've enjoyed this conversation and would like to hear like past and future interviews on this channel, you can like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon so you'll get notifications, even though you already hit the subscribe icon because everyone loves extra steps. Yeah, if you after you follow Lisa on Twitter so you can see all of her tweets about the things she's all about, and you want to hear things I'm all about for whatever reason, you can find me like at tgorman83 or just search Big Debbie and you'll find me. And if any of you for some reason have money and you want to give me at least one money, you can go to patreon.com/the pumpkincoptercast, where for as little as $1 a month you can submit questions for me to use in future interviews. And yeah, this has been the Pumpkin Coptercast, and as I am obligated to say at the end of every show, have a gourd day, everyone.